Well, if this conversation had a title, I think it would be Cocktails and Collaboration.
I think that's appropriate.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
Makes sense to me.
works for me.
I'm Mike Rowe. Noble was my granddad. He was the inspiration for Dirty Jobs and a foundation I run today. So during the lockdowns, I put his name on some really great whiskey and started using it as a fundraiser. You guys bought some for the party we're about to have,
Yeah.
and now we're drinking it
Yeah.
and going to have ourselves a little chat.
Yeah.
Ty and Ryan. Now, these people probably already know both of you, right?
Yeah, probably from here and there.
A little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, this is like
Yeah.
your YouTube channel.
that's right.
Your
Yeah, so
website.
hopefully they do.
Right. Well, if you
All
don't,
right,
now you do.
Here we go.
I met these guys a year ago at this very event in Las Vegas, and we kind of hit it off. And you've been advertising on my podcast for the last year or so,
And buying your whiskey.
and buying my
Oh, yeah.
whiskey, which I appreciate. But the more I look at your product, the more and I'm not just blowing smoke.
Yeah.
I think you've done something that can actually transform the industry in a lot of different ways, both in recruiting, which is sort of my thing,
Mhm.
but also just in basic satisfaction. And I know what you've built, Ty, is really for the builder,
Mhm.
but the real beneficiary of this is going to be the homeowner as well, right?
So my background is actually in construction engineering. That's what I went to school for. And then I started in the commercial space and then got into ultra luxury homes for a couple of years. And in that space,
like big homes.
big
Yeah.
homes.
Yeah.
Big homes.
Big Sky, Montana,
out in Montana.
Yellowstone Club.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun stuff. And throughout that whole process, we had our own crews and framers and everything like that. And it was a lot of manual process. And I was the one putting together these binders that are about that thick. And we did a really good job, but a lot of folks out there for homeowners and their clients, they don't take the time.
Hmm.
And that's where, with Ryan going through a home build, and he realized kind of how the communication was a little bit broken. And you even told me that you put spreadsheets together to capture a lot of this stuff.
Created some Google Docs, some Google spreadsheets, just to try to track, again, all the decisions my wife and I were making through the build process. You know, is the flooring we're choosing going to work with the cabinets?
Right.
I have no idea.
I
Like
mean,
it's,
right.
yeah.
In fact, you're not supposed to know that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
but what struck me when I went through sort of like the punch list, I mean, it is endless.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And people start making bad decisions because they're overwhelmed by the totality of the decisions and they
Yeah.
stop caring. And then if they don't stop caring, it's only a matter of time until somebody hears something wrong,
Mhm.
Exactly.
right? Something's going to go off the rails. And so how much of that blew back on you as a builder?
It always does. I mean, we're the first one. Well, I was like, we were the first ones that they would call.
Yeah.
Like if something broke, or maybe they moved in, they've been in there for a couple of weeks, and they're like, "That's not what we chose." But in reality, it was.
Right.
But there was no easy way to go back and actually capture and show them, like, "Hey, you did make this decision."
Mhm.
Were you guys doing things through like text and email back then?
All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would like for bids and stuff, we would go out and we'd send 3-4 different bids out through email, and then I'd have to capture those bids, store them in one spot, make sure that they're organized. And a lot of conversations through email, or text messages, even phone calls. Like it's really hard to capture a phone call unless you don't write it down right afterwards.
So how did you guys hook up?
Yeah. So we have actually known each other since 5th grade.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. First business we wanted to build was a Baskin Robbins, believe it or not.
Still might
Yeah.
happen. It might happen.
So
it might happen.
yeah, we've done what they call in the industry a pivot into technology. So Ty left to go to college, become a builder, and I went to college, studied pre-law, but then decided quickly didn't want to do that. So I just jumped literally head first into a wall of building a company, and made like every mistake in the book, and partnered up with Ty, and he was, liked banging his head on a wall too, so we both did it together.
Because that learning curve is a right angle, for real.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, so first company we built together, we had a small little exit, and then second company we built together, we're like, we learned quite a bit.
Mhm.
Let's try this again, try to get a little bit more right. And then we built a technology company together that a public company ended up acquiring, and we scaled that to millions of users, which was pretty fun, and built just a phenomenal team. Like the team that we have now at Diggs are just some of the top folks that we worked with at our last company.
Like what kind of people? Who are you hiring right now? Because
Yeah.
this is an AI-driven
Yeah,
product
exactly.
that shows people really a three-dimensional look at the home they're going to inhabit way before it's done.
Exactly.
So what kind of
Yeah.
brain power do you need to make that happen?
People are a lot smarter than the people sitting on
Yeah.
this couch. Yeah, so a lot of engineers, product folks, designers. Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the things that we always we push ourselves for is you hire for the people, or you hire the people that you're not the strongest
Fills
in.
your gaps.
Yeah, they fill your gaps. Because not everybody's perfect. They don't know everything. And so I think we've done a really good job at just creating a really talent-dense team.
Yeah.
So what's the customer base look like at this point, and what's your plan to really roll this thing out? And how are you going to market it?
Yeah.
Because that is kind of like all
Yeah.
all problems are communication problems,
Yeah.
which is what your product addresses.
Exactly.
But it seems like all growth is a marketing challenge.
Definitely is.
So how
You
are
met Danette, right?
I met Danette.
Powerhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we really want to be seen as a part of the community. So a lot of the marketing we do is just events, like where we met Nathan Walters and other folks that have become, power users of Diggs. It's just building a relationship with them, showing them that we're truly trying to understand the pain points that they go through on a day-to-day basis, and then trying to bring that information back to the team and figure out how can we solve those from a technology perspective in a really simple way.
And one of the first 3 months before we even wrote one line of code, like we interviewed builders, subcontractors across the U.S. We had a hypothesis, and so we wanted to get that research, and so we went straight to the community and really listened to them and took their feedback, and that's how we started the product.
So I met you sort of a year ago.
Yep.
I was at this same event. You were in the audience. I must have said something that resonated.
Yeah.
So you started advertising my podcast.
Yep.
Now we're doing this thing. What has the year been like in terms of growth, good, bad, and ugly? And look into your crystal ball and tell me where we're going to be sitting and what we're going to be talking about a year from now.
Yeah. I remember vividly your talk and just how much it resonated with us and what we're trying to accomplish, but from just a little bit different angle. And then also just the way the audience responded to your talk was just phenomenal. And so I remember looking over to Ty and Danette, and I was just like, one day we're going to work with Mike. And they kind of chuckled. They're like, oh, yeah, sure. So we wore down your team a bit, and then we were able to get on your podcast. And but growth has honestly been phenomenal because we are taking kind of this organic human approach.
Yeah.
We've gone from 0 homes to 5,000 homes on our platform in under a year.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
Yeah. Now the team's working really hard to make sure we can get to the next 10, 20, 30, 100,000 homes.
So what does success really look like, Ty?
I think we want to build a long-lasting company that really solves a lot of problems for the industry. We're creating a platform and a product that really, I believe, can create great efficiencies for this, not only just like from a homeowner perspective, but builders, architects, subcontractors, vendors. It can touch so many different areas. So, I mean, we talk about this a lot. Like our goal is we want to build a lasting company where we can really help folks.
Terrific. Well, look, full disclosure, my interest in this is that I think the skills gap is a clear and present danger, and frankly, a matter of national security. And I know how crazy that sounds, but it's not hyperbolic. I talk to people every single day in your industry who say the same thing. And I was just talking to that friend at Nathan, right? He's got a mason who he relies on, who's 60 years old, his kids have no interest in following his footsteps.
Yeah.
So we have to do something to make a more persuasive case for the trades. And part of that is going to be introducing new and better tools into the mix that really appeal, I think, to the mindset of a younger man or woman. And that's what you guys have done.
Yeah.
This thing checks a lot of boxes. So I'll do what I can to shout it from the mountaintop.
Well, we definitely appreciate that.
Don't mention it.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Don't mention it.
thanks for drinking my granddad's whiskey.
Absolutely.
It's raised a fair amount of money for our foundation, and I should mention, shameless plug, but
Yeah.
we've got a work ethic scholarship program that goes on pretty much year round now. We give away a couple $1 million a year
Yeah.
in these scholarships that are for the trades, right? And that touches a lot of work in your industry. So
Yeah.
feel free to apply at mikeroweWORKS.org. Shameless plug. And the whiskey's not bad either.
It's
Love it.
delicious.
And your software is incredible.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Adios.